In this video, I will explain how a four-stroke engine works. Whenever people are talking about car engines, you may realize that they say things like, this vehicle is a V6, or my vehicle is a V8. Well, what they're really saying is the number of cylinders the vehicle's engine has. A V8 has 8 cylinders, whereas a V10 has 10 cylinders. The V just means that the vehicle's engine cylinders are arranged in the form of a V. The I means that the vehicle's engine cylinders are in a straight line. V4 engines typically have really good fuel economy but don't make all that much power. V12 engines typically have really poor fuel economy but make lots of power. This engine diagram is based off a DOHC or dual overhead cam port injected gasoline engine. Dual overhead cams just mean that the vehicle's engine has two camshafts, and port injected just means that the fuel injector injects fuel in the port. The fuel injector injects fuel into the engine cylinder. There's port injection, direct injection, and indirect injection. The cams rotate on camshafts and are what opens up the valves. The intake valve opens up to let the air and fuel mixture into the engine cylinder. The exhaust valve opens up to let the smoke caused by the combustion of the air and fuel mixture out of the engine cylinder and out the tailpipe. The spark plug sparks to ignite the air and fuel mixture. The piston absorbs the energy caused by the combustion of the air and fuel mixture. The connecting rod connects the piston to the crankshaft. The crankshaft converts the piston's up and down motion to a rotating motion. The four strokes of this type of engine are intake, compression, combustion, and exhaust. During the intake stroke, air travels through the intake port. Now, as this happens, the fuel injector injects fuel. Then the pointy part of the cam faces the valve. This causes the valve to open up. When that happens, the air and fuel mixture travel down into the cylinder. Once the intake stroke finishes, the piston is at BDC or bottom dead center. During the compression stroke of the engine, the piston rises up from its previous position in order to compress the air and fuel mixture. It does this so that when the spark plug ignites the fuel, lots of energy is created. During the combustion stroke of the engine, the piston is at TDC or top dead center. When it reaches this position, the spark plug sparks to ignite the air and fuel mixture. When this happens, the air and fuel mixture combusts and creates lots of energy, which pushes the piston down. This causes the crankshaft to rotate. During the exhaust stroke of the engine, the pointy part of the cam faces the exhaust valve. This causes the exhaust valve to open. Then, the piston rises up and pushes the exhaust up and out of the engine cylinder. Then, as the piston nears the top, the pointy part of the cam faces away from the valve, causing the valve to close. This happens in order to prevent the piston from colliding with the exhaust valve. The pink parts are the cams and the blue parts are the valves. As you can see here, these two pistons are at TDC or top dead center, while these two pistons are at BDC or bottom dead center. This here is the flywheel. The flywheel is a heavy wheel that allows the crankshaft to maintain its momentum. The parts in an engine move really fast. For example, the crankshaft rotates at a rate of 1,000 to 4,000 or maybe even 5,000 RPMs or revolutions per minute. This would mean that there needs to be something to keep the engine in time so that something bad doesn't happen, like your piston colliding straight with the valve. This is when the timing belt or chain comes into play. The timing belt or chain keeps the engine in time in order to prevent something bad like this from happening. These two gears here are the crankshaft pulleys. They are connected to the camshafts. This black line represents the timing belt or chain. This small gear represents a timing belt idler, and this other small gear represents a timing belt tensioner. They basically just provide tension to the belt. This is a timing belt pulley, which is connected to the crankshaft. Lastly, in a rear-wheel drive layout, the power gets sent from the engine to the transmission, to the differential, and then the wheels.